Hey there, my name is Corey, and this is the start of a DIY video on how I made this countertop that you've just seen. It's a concrete blended with a slab of live edge cherry, and I couldn't find a lot of helpful info on how to do this sort of countertop. There's lots of things out there on concrete countertops, but not a lot on how to blend these two materials together that have a curved line connecting them. And so I want to do this video, and maybe this will help some folks out, and thanks for watching. All right, so this is my form. It's about a 7-foot long countertop. So what's on the left is a piece of wild cherry that I cut the live edge out of the middle, as you can see on the right edge, and that's the following all the grain and made it square, which is important. So what's going to happen is this rebar right here, this one going, I've drilled this about 6 inches into this cherry, 1/2 inch hole. This is 3/8 rebar number 3. This so what I have this set up, and then I've also wrapped this cherry in plastic, in cellophane, and I put tape on the front edge of this. So the goal is, so this edge right here is the edge that's going to be the critical edge where you're going to see on top of the middle of the countertop. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be able to take these two pieces apart, because this hole, is, so this can come out right here. You see that? So I'm going to have a piece of concrete with 5 pieces of rebar sticking out of it. And then I'm going to finish the concrete as I normally do, wet sanding and polishing. I'm going to finish the wood countertop, the wood piece, and I'm going to marry these two things together, and I'm going to epoxy this rebar into that hole, and hopefully it's all going to match up nice, because I could not figure out a way to, if I put them both together and then I try to wet grind the concrete, which I don't really know how to do it dry, is how that wouldn't just stain and ruin the wood. So this is what I'm going to try to do. My son and I are going to pour this today, and maybe I'll show some other videos on where I go from there. Okay, so got the pour done. Just if folks are wondering, I'm using Chen concrete, countertop concrete pro formula. You mix 1 bag of this stuff with 120 pounds of sack mix, which I'm using. It's the Countertop. Let me go find it. It's the Countertop mix. I think they have it at Lowe's. It is Quikrete Countertop mix. So I like this stuff, but what I like about it is there's not a lot of large rocks. And so when you grind into it, you get a nice consistent surface of smaller rocks. But I had a few cracks. And they were definitely in places where you would think you could get a crack. So I wouldn't think this slab would crack in any way. So it's, pretty, there's no sharp protrusions into it and that sort of thing. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one, because this is going to be going next to some other concrete work I've done in the kitchen. So this is going to sit here for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. And then we'll take it out of the mold and separate these two pieces, the wood and the concrete. I'll prep out both and then epoxy them together, and we'll come back maybe later in that process. Okay, so it's been 4 days since the pour. This is the back side. There's my boys scratching their name in. A few little bubbles on top, but that's all fine. Got a little filler I'll need to do on that corner. But I'm super happy. This is coming apart really nice, and it was really tight with the wood. So I've just taken a taking a chisel, and this is the back side so nobody sees it, so I've just been wedging this apart, and now I'm just working it with my hands. And you can see the rebar that's coming out of the concrete right there. And then I had holes in the wood, and I had this edge protected with tape, really carefully taped, and some cellophane that hopefully kept the concrete off the wood. So I'm just breaking this apart right now. And I won't know until I flip all this over and put it back together to see how tight the seam is. But so far so good. The edges are really nice, not much for bubbles or holes so far. You know, some of those will all get filled, but looking good so far. All right, so I did my first polish on the concrete. So I've taken it down to 400. You can see there's some holes that will need filler, but I am super pumped with how good the seam turned out with this. It's just really tight. You can see that down, that whole seam. So the cherry has a little cup to it, about 1/8 of an inch, so I gotta work that. I'm gonna fill the concrete with its first slurry coat to fill these holes, and I'll do 2 coats of that and keep working the 2 to really fit together nice with the height. So that's what I got to dial in now, is the height. So I can take these apart, put them together now, and it's gonna be pretty good. All right, here we are back again. So I took my this piece of cherry over to a friend's, put it through his planer to get it really nice. And now I'm using some clear epoxy for these knots that had some that needed to be filled. So I'll sand those off. And then I've also put my first coat of filler on this piece of concrete. So the light areas are being filled. So I'll do that 2, maybe 3 times on this slab. And then I also had to bore these holes out there a little more so that I have a little more adjustment for my height as I work it next to the concrete. So we're getting there. Hey, thanks for checking out the video on how I made this concrete and wood slab countertop. I am super excited the way it turned out. We'll have more stuff coming out, so check us out, Cascade Modern, and thanks for watching.